All right. Hi, everybody. So in this video, I'm going to talk about basically the logistics of the course. So yeah, ins and outs of the course, how it's organized, what the major assignments are, how to sort of navigate your way through the course and do well, hopefully get an A. That should be everybody's goal. I think for the vast majority of people, I think getting an A is definitely possible, but obviously you're gonna have to work for it. So yeah, let's talk about course logistics. And yeah, I'm gonna talk about course logistics by with reference to the syllabus, mostly focusing on the syllabus, which hopefully you can see on your screen right now. So yeah, the course is History 109, U.S. History to 1865. You can see my name there. Yeah, so that's my email, dschloss@asu.edu. Let me talk about when to email me, when not to email me. So if you have a question, I think you want to kind of go through a checklist here, go through a process, I guess I could say. So the first thing to do, if you have a question, is to look at the syllabus. And so hopefully you'll get a better sense of the syllabus and also the Canvas page through this video, but definitely look through the syllabus on your own carefully, and especially if you have a question, go back to the syllabus and look really carefully, because inevitably I get a lot of questions that the answers are right there in plain English on the syllabus. So that would just kind of save you time and me time and make things more efficient. Now, sometimes things come up that questions come up that aren't answered by the syllabus. And so in that case, let's take a look here. So this is the community forum. So to access the community forum, you should see this on your screen. You would go to, this is the Canvas page, by the way. You would go to modules and click on community forum. And yeah, these are for questions of basically a general nature. So if you have a specific question related to, like, hey, I need an extension on this due date for this assignment, or it's these extenuating circumstances have come up, or I'm just really confused, in a way that other people maybe aren't confused, then in that case you want to email me, right? But if it's a general question, then just something that doesn't make sense in the syllabus, something that doesn't make sense on the Canvas page, the due dates seem off, then, like, if you have that question, probably a bunch of other people, at least a few other people, have that question. And so an efficient way for us to deal with it sort of as a group is for you to post on the community forum, right? So I'm going to try and check the community forum, periodically, hopefully just about every day. And you guys can check the community forum as well. And a lot of times what happens is, if somebody posts a general question in the community forum, like, one of the students gets to it and answers the question, and usually does a good job answering the question even before I can answer the question, which is great. Then again, we're dealing with questions and problems and issues that come up in an efficient manner, right? So that's great from my perspective. So yeah, so again, general question, use the community forum. Specific question, email me. But again, make sure that the question isn't answerable with reference to the syllabus. So let's go back to, speaking of the syllabus, let's go back to the syllabus. And by the way, the syllabus that I posted on the course, the spring 2023 ASU course schedule, or course, whatever they call it, course catalog, is a little bit different than the syllabus you're seeing here. So if you're using that syllabus, I would recommend, basically, I would recommend to use the syllabus that's on the Canvas page right now. There's not big differences, but I think there was a couple of things I changed. Might have just been typos. I don't remember really specifically, but again, use the syllabus that's on the course Canvas page. Okay, so what do I want to talk about? What else do I want to talk about here? Let's talk about the required text. So the textbook is Land of Hope, An Invitation to the Great American Story by Wilford McClay, should be available in the ASU bookstore. I think it's also available on Amazon if you want to access it that way. If you access it via the ASU bookstore, I think you can rent it if you want for a little bit more higher cost, you can buy it. So let's talk about this textbook a little bit. I like this textbook, and that's why I'm assigning it as a part of this course. So Maclay frames this textbook around, I would say he has a couple different themes. The first theme is it's a very national focused textbook, right? And that seems a little bit weird. So obviously this is the title of the course is U.S. History to 1865. So you would think the nation would be a big focus. Actually, when you're studying, when you're taking a course like U.S. History to 1865 that deals with early America, and you're looking for a textbook, a lot of textbooks don't necessarily emphasize the nation as much. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? Because there wasn't a nation until really the United States didn't, as I'll talk more about, and this textbook talks about, the United States didn't exist until the late 18th century, until 1789. So, but really, you can't understand what eventually became the United States without reference to what came before, right? There was a lot going on within the context of colonial America, right? And a lot of influences on colonial America, socially, politically, economically, that came from Europe and especially from England. There were influences related to the peoples that were here before the first English settlement, first basically white European settlement in North America, which is Jamestown in 1607. So there were indigenous peoples here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, right? So that's always a big decision with historians, and especially, with textbooks, is to what extent do you focus on the nation, right? So Maclay focuses on the nation, really has his eye on what eventually became the United States, beginning in 1789 and beyond, even before there's any kind of polity called the United States, anything resembling a nation, right? So that's one thing to sort of keep in mind. I think that I would say that focus has a lot of positives. One of the positives, I think, is that Maclay's textbook has a really good continuity to it. I think a lot of other textbooks, you kind of go from chapter to chapter, and it's hard to figure out sort of what the chapters have to do with each other besides just you're moving in time chronologically, right? Generally speaking, I think, by contrast, one of the strengths of Maclay's book, in my opinion, is that it's very cohesive. One chapter logically fits with the one chapter fits with the next chapter, and that in turn fits with the chapter that goes after that, not just in terms of chronology, but in terms of theme, thematically. And yeah, let me talk a little bit about Maclay's themes. And I think you would see this, you're going to see this from reading the introduction, which is part of your, first week's assignment. And so, yeah, one of his themes, I think, is citizenship. That's one of my themes as well, democratic citizenship. Maclay really emphasizes that, and that's one of the reasons he frames American history in terms of the nation, even before there was a nation, right? And let's see, what other themes? Yeah, again, I think it's citizenship. It's definitely political history. So in certain other textbooks, you would see a lot of emphasis on, and especially textbooks that have been written, recently in the last 10 to 20 years, you would see a lot of emphasis on, social history, cultural history, history of sort of forgotten peoples, right? Peoples that were left, indigenous peoples, African American, women that were left out of the historical narrative for a long time, that there was definitely a lack of focus on those groups, but that's changed. I would argue that's changed dramatically. So by contrast, Maclay, I think, focuses more on political history, right? At the same time, I don't think Maclay leaves out what's happening with people that weren't necessarily at the vanguard of British colonial politics in North America and what eventually became American politics at the national level, at the state level, at the local level. I think Maclay does deal with those people. But yeah, it's really up to you to decide, right? We want to, I think, approach everything in this class critically. All the readings, take it with a grain of salt. There's definitely a lot of different ways to approach American history. No, as I mentioned, I think a few minutes ago, no approach is beyond reproach, beyond criticism. And I think that includes Maclay. But again, I think it's Maclay does a good job thematically. Also, this textbook is very concise. It's very efficient, which is very hard. I think a lot of textbooks are very long. And that results in a lot of students not reading a lot of the textbook and missing a lot. I think Maclay deals with American history very efficiently and concisely, and I think that's really hard to do. So anyway, that's a little bit about the book. So basically every week, let me talk about this for a second. So actually, let's go back. So you can see on the screen there, basically, so I've broken up the course into 7 modules. And for each module, I have an outline. So you can see outline of week 1, outline of week 2. You can see the theme for each module. So the theme of module 1 is the shaping of colonial America. Theme of module 2, the road to revolution, etc. So if you click on outline, I think this is what should guide you, hopefully. This is kind of basically each module begins on a Monday. So the first module begins on Monday, March 13th. Second module begins on Monday, March 20th, and so on and so forth. And basically at the beginning of each module, on Monday, when you're gearing up to start working on that week's assignments, I would take a look at this outline. So you can see for week 1, read Introduction to Chapter 2 in Land of Hope by Wilfred Maclay. So there's going to be textbook reading for every week. It's mostly going to come from the Maclay book. For week 2, I think I assigned you 1 chapter in the Maclay book. And then I'm assigning you a reading that's going to be available on Canvas. That's from another textbook called Give Me Liberty by Eric Foner. But yeah, every other week, basically, it's a chapter or 2. I think at most 2 chapters, although I guess for week 1, it's Introduction, Chapter 1, Chapter 2. So that's really more like 3 chapters. So basically every week you're going to read from the Maclay textbook, except for, again, week 2. Every week you're going to watch lecture videos. So for the week 1 lecture videos, basically I have a part 1 and part 2 lecture video. Usually it's between like 60 and 90 minutes total. I think for every week, every module, I have at most 2. I think for week 2, module 2, at least at this point, I just have 1 video. That's, I think, 35 minutes long. I might end up adding in another video. But again, that kind of gives you an idea of what to look for or what to expect with regards to videos each week. So every week you have a reading/lecture quiz that corresponds to the Maclay readings, and you also have a weekly primary source questions assignment. And so let's take a quick look at that. And by the way, everything is due at the very end of the module, which is Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. right? So March 19th, Sunday, 11:59 p.m. That's the end of module 1, and that's when everything is due, and you upload your basically reading slash lecture quiz along with primary source questions assignment to Canvas, and let me know if you have trouble with that or questions about that. But that's basically the idea. Let's take a look at for week 1. So you can see this is the week 1 video, part 1. I have a part 2 to go with that. Here's the reading slash lecture quiz for week 1. Let's take a quick look. So you can see there's, I think, 15 multiple choice questions. And then there's short answer questions. I believe there's 9. Yeah, 9 short answer questions. This is going to vary somewhat depending on the week, the number of short answer, the number of multiple choice. Right now I have 3 questions related to the lecture videos. By the way, the lecture videos, and I think I wrote this in the syllabus. So the lecture videos are intended not to so I'm not just repeating everything it says in the Maclay textbook. It's intended to supplement what it says in the Maclay textbook, right? So, and like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Maclay spends a lot of time on political history, and not as much time on like economic, social, cultural history, race, indigenous history. So a lot of my videos are going to deal with that, again, because Maclay is going in other directions. So definitely don't think that you're going to get all of the content from this class or anywhere near all the content of this class just for my lecture videos. Basically, again, with regards to the multiple choice questions, with regards to the short answer questions, the answers are going to come, the information that you need to answer these questions is going to come from primarily from the Maclay textbook. So generally speaking, these should go in order. So theoretically, you can answer these just as you're reading the Maclay textbook. And I believe, so like for the first set of questions, multiple choice questions. So this deals with questions 1 to 15 deal with introduction to chapter 2, going basically in order, introduction, chapter 1 to chapter 2. Then once you get to the short answer questions, and the first question, how does Maclay define citizenship? Then you would go back to the beginning of the introduction and again, work your way through chapter 1, chapter 2. And then again, the questions from lecture videos, obviously you want to watch the lecture videos to answer my questions, or to answer these questions. By the way, usually the last question or last couple of questions for the lecture video questions will be more of kind of a critical thinking analysis kind of question. In a lot of cases, I'll tell you, hey, I'm looking for more than 2 to 4 sentences. I'm looking for 5, 6, 7 sentences. So make sure you're paying attention to those questions. A lot of times I'll specify not just that I'm looking for you to kind of go above and beyond for those questions and give me a little bit more, but I'll say like this is a 2-point or 3-point or 4-point question, so it's worth more than just any other multiple choice or short answer or other kind of lecture video questions. So just kind of be aware from that, be aware of that. Make sure you put a little more time and effort into those specific questions. Okay, so that's the reading/lecture quiz. Basically, you download the worksheet, answer the question, type in your answers, save, upload your answers by Sunday night, and you're good to go.